Why is Janet Jackson considered by many to be the pop star blueprint? What has she done for music? What happened to her? And why does it matter? If you're a Janet Jackson fan or an aspiring artist yourself, let's dive into the life and career of one of music's most massive icons to see how her legacy still lingers in today's music world. Because the only reason that your favorite pop titan can do what they do is because of Janet Jackson. And it's time we start crediting her for it. Let's blast off and get started. JM in your universe. Konnichiwa friends, I'm Jonathan Miller and welcome back to Jonathan Miller Music, where we help each other become better artists. Janet Jackson remains as one of the best-selling music acts in the world of all time, selling over 100 million plus records. She was named the second most successful artist of the 90s. She still holds the record for the most consecutive top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. And still to this day, she is the only artist in history to have 7 singles from the same album become top 5 hits on the Hot 100 as well, 4 of them going #1. Janet has won 5 Grammy Awards, 11 Billboard Music Awards, 11 American Music Awards, the Worldwide Inspiration Award at the Mnet Asian Music Awards, a star on the Walk of Fame, and currently holds 8 Guinness World Records. But if we look at the landscape of popular music today, it might not be as easy to see how her legacy beyond the accolades still persists. In an age where pop star reinvention has become so common and nearly expected, it may be difficult for some to see her impact on music, especially given the fallout from one of her most well-known controversies. How does Janet Jackson compare to the likes of Madonna, Britney Spears, Beyonce, BTS, Janelle Monáe, and so many others? Moreover, if she's done so much, why is she so often ignored in younger generations' conversations about pop stars and music royalty? There are many multifaceted layers to Janet Jackson's rise and fall in stardom, as it's nearly impossible to talk about her without bringing up subjects like racism and misogyny. So please remember that all opinions in this video today are my own, and I don't want to try nor imply that I am speaking for anyone else but myself. As someone who is not Black nor a woman, I realize that these subjects are important to highlight, but not speak over for others. So as always, I would highly encourage you to do your own research and listen to the thoughts and opinions of those who are, because this is just my perspective. That being said, as a member of the LGBTQ+ community who makes pop music, I owe a lot to Janet Jackson too, because she stuck up for our community before a lot of other people did. So if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to leave a like, hit subscribe, and share it with your friends. And don't forget to leave a comment about your thoughts, or just share your top 5 favorite Janet Jackson songs. She's got a lot of them, and to her oldest fans, what's been popular over the last 30 years or so probably looks a little familiar. In order to demonstrate this, let's rewind the clocks back to 1982. The 80s deserve a lot of credit for the modern pop landscape in general, but more specifically, there was someone else that Janet would come to grow alongside, and she also has been called the Queen of Pop. Janet Jackson originally had no intention of becoming an artist. She has stated a few times that she was more interested in becoming a horse jockey or going to college, and maybe pursuing some other type of career in entertainment eventually. However, as the youngest sibling in a family that was already pretty well known at the time the 80s rolled around, she was constantly the subject of comparison. A lot of people, even now, still view her brother Michael as some sort of qualifier for Janet, meaning that if you bring up the subject of her, you have to bring up the subject of him. Sometimes as a way to highlight the talents of the Jackson family, other times as a way of showing how close she and Michael were, as Janet and Michael shared a lot of similar lived experiences in an entertainment family and growing up in the public eye. Janet loved and respected her brother, but she is still very much her own person and her own artist. While Michael Jackson has undeniably made an impact on pop music regardless of how you feel about him, this video isn't about Michael, it's about Janet. The advent of the music video as we know it today can actually be traced back all the way to 1894, when sheet music publishers hired an electrician to use a magic lantern, which was kind of an early projector, to project still images on a screen during live performances. This led to things like illustrated songs, musical short films, promotional clips, musical films, and what we know now as the music video. The progress and development of video cameras and special effects also increased accessibility to music video creation. Acts like Queen, David Bowie, Duran Duran, and more began utilizing music videos as promotional tools for their singles and albums, much like they're used today, ultimately leading to the launch of music television, aka MTV. Originally a more rock-oriented channel favoring the new wave bands of the time, MTV aired music videos guided by video jockeys as kind of a new age radio, except obviously in visual format. Because it favored rock music, MTV frequently came under fire for racism for not really playing black artists except during 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., aka the least watched time block. This would eventually begin to change as the 80s continued, creating what's now known as the MTV generation, also known as Gen X. One such artist who not only played a role in MTV's growth, but also the development of the music video as we know it today, was Janet Jackson. Janet's music videos showed off a unique aspect to her that not many of her competitors at the time utilized in music video format: her choreography. While choreography certainly existed in music videos prior to Janet Jackson's What Have You Done For Me Lately, her Control album's widespread success acted as the catalyst for female pop stars to dance in music videos. Furthermore, it demonstrated why it was effective for marketing. Because of its at-home entertainment accessibility, rather than waiting to see it by going to a live event. From that point on, choreography became an integral part to Janet's videography. Not only that, female choreography in music videos became increasingly important throughout the remainder of the 80s and into the 90s as well. While many people associate pop choreography with Madonna, for example, she didn't really start producing her now signature choreography until 1990's Vogue, even though she had done a little bit of it in videos prior. Janet Jackson, meanwhile, produced the music video for Nasty, which is actually an autobiographical take on her confronting abusive and stalker men in 1986. Madonna's earliest music videos mostly consisted of her storytelling and taking a more artistic or literal translation of her music onto film, while Janet's were made to showcase her skill level and artistry at the same time. In other words, they had two different goals. It's also worth noting Janet's age during her Control era as well. While she and Madonna may have debuted within 3 months of each other in 1982, they are actually a part of two different generations. Madonna is a baby boomer born in 1958, and Janet, being born in 1966, is Gen X. By the time Janet had released Nasty, most baby boomers were approaching their late 20s or their 30s, meaning that they weren't the target demographic as much for MTV. Janet's sassy and confident music videos drew in more videos from kids and teens and people in their 20s for MTV, aka her generation. One of those kids, Britney Spears, has repeatedly cited Janet Jackson as a big influence for her. Not only that, she regularly pays homage to her as well, among a whole lot of other references in Britney's career. Britney's music videos, among other female pop stars from the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s, often contain choreography sequences because Janet's early success with it practically made it a requirement in order to succeed in the music industry, to increase the probability of record sales. Her music videos not only helped to push choreography into the eyes of a new generation, once she realized that her music videos were keeping people's attention, she found out she could use them to say something. Janet Jackson, after getting out of her father's abuse and control, was never really one to bite her tongue in her music. There's a reason her album Rhythm Nation has inspired and been covered by the likes of Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Girls' Generation, Beyonce, Cheryl Cole, Ciara, Usher, Carrie Hilson, Britney Spears, and so many others. Not only because it was cool, because it meant something. One of the oldest and most tired critiques of popular music is that it doesn't mean anything. It has no depth. Especially if the song is upbeat, then it absolutely doesn't mean anything, and it's boring. And Rhythm Nation laughs in the face of that adversity. Is it the very first pop album to be socially conscious? No. But did Janet make it specifically knowing she had a platform, giving her a unique opportunity to demonstrate her artistic growth, while also offering commentary on racism, poverty, and substance abuse, topics on which she most likely would not have been listened to as a young black woman in a white male-dominated field? Absolutely. A concept album, which is an album that contains a strong central idea, theme, or motif, like Lemonade by Beyonce, Halsey's Badlands, Janelle Monáe's Dirty Computer, and SZA's Control, Rhythm Nation is still the only album ever in history to produce 7 top 5 singles on the Billboard Hot 100. Katy Perry came close, but 2 of her singles are actually from a reissue of her Teenage Dream album and are not included on the original record. Janet wanted to take even more creative control with this record to create a space that united people across race and gender lines. The music video for its title track made Janet the first woman ever to produce a long-form music video, while also trying to create a movement of breaking down barriers, something that a lot of her female counterparts at the time weren't really doing. While long-form music videos may seem pretty common now, with things like visual albums courtesy of Beyonce and others, Beyonce is now equally as important to recognize music videos, choreography, and artistry get to be heard and be seen as iconic as they are because Janet took the first step to allow women in popular music genres to be heard while demonstrating their unique talents. Both are equally as important. Also, up until a few years just before Rhythm Nation came out, radio was still pretty segregated between white pop and rock groups and black R&B singers and hip-hop artists. Janet's music built a bridge between hip-hop beats and R&B harmonies and pop hooks that created a cross-cultural moment and made her more accessible to a wider audience that hadn't really been done up until that point. She is exactly why modern pop radio sounds the way it does and consists of so many different genres either in one song or as it changes between songs. Making sure to cast a diverse for the time cast for the music video, it was purposefully shot in black and white to create a sense of unity and draw attention away from what separates us, while also in a way calling attention to those very things as well in hopes of togetherness. Rhythm Nation's monumental success allowed more modern socially conscious pop music to come into the mainstream and be heard. Janet consistently produced music with depth following the release of Rhythm Nation, exploring themes of sexuality, or with songs like Free Zone speaking out against homophobia, and Together Again honoring the lives lost during the AIDS epidemic. Feminism, bigotry, racism, fascism, education inequality, mental health, and so much more. She dared to be bold, which allowed other artists, even today like BTS, to speak out through music about issues that they believe in, when they otherwise might not be heard due to various prejudices. Her fashion continued to set the trend, especially in the 90s, including the 90s high-waisted jeans and a shirt showing her midriff, which caught on like wildfire. She dared to be different, showing others that creative control over your music and your work oftentimes yields the best results. By the turn of the millennium, Janet Jackson had a landmark 18 consecutive top 10 singles on the Billboard Hot 100. She had won the Legend Award at the 1999 World Music Awards, became the second most successful act of the 90s, won the first MTV Icon Award for her significant contributions to music and pop culture, and the generation she inspired became old enough to perform alongside her. But unfortunately, as any pop star knows, people love to build you up and then they want to see you fall hard. Pop stars and controversy are practically synonymous nowadays. Controversy drives engagement, clicks, views, and sales. Pushing the envelope often provokes discussion, social progress, and eventually changes minds. Artists, especially women, even more so women of color, have to be careful sometimes though, because in a white male-dominated field like the music industry, ruffling feathers can mean consequential side effects. Even if it's not really your fault and a complete accident. Controversy can be something small or large, depending on what the public and the media chooses to run with. Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake's Super Bowl halftime show is a pop culture moment that I, for one, remember very well, not because of the less than 1 second wardrobe malfunction, but for the fallout and the conversations that it sparked. Janet Jackson was immediately blacklisted from the entire entertainment industry. She became the most searched for person on the internet for over a year, and not for good reasons. YouTube co-founder Ja'ad Karim even cited the incident as one of the things that led to the creation of YouTube. People were outraged, angry, and complaining to the Federal Communications Commission, which ended up fining CBS $550,000 for, quote, indecency. Many people argued that the controversy was used by the media as a way of distracting the American people from the Iraq War. Even the term wardrobe malfunction was coined from this specific event. Janet was banned from radio. MTV, who remember, had just honored her attending the Grammy Awards. She was essentially kicked out of the entertainment industry in a way that we have not seen since. I very vividly remember her being mocked from everywhere from kids on the playground to late night TV. MTV had sponsored the Super Bowl, and following the incident, she was never played again and scrubbed from everything relating to MTV until 2021, when she was finally played as background music on their show, The Challenge. For over 17 years, Janet Jackson was ignored and blacklisted from the entertainment industry. You see, it's not the subject of relevancy when it comes to Janet Jackson's career as she got older. It's the fact that she had to take the fall, humiliated in front of 140 million plus people, and Justin Timberlake kind of got off scot-free. His career flourished, even getting awarded the MTV Video Vanguard Award. Janet's career, meanwhile, became shoved into the background, even though she kept releasing albums, continued her philanthropy work, won multiple awards from other places, and was eventually inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and she continued to push the envelope in her work. The problem is, though, if you're born after 2004 and not Black, it's stupidly very likely that you don't know any of that. All because a Black woman was punished by the media for an entire generation and then some, for a crime that she didn't really commit. Justin was only supposed to reveal a part of her bra, but ended up taking more off, exposing her embarrassed, and then eventually just kind of left the stage. She had to issue the apologies that no one really forgave her for. Meanwhile, he was at the Grammys that she was supposed to attend, and people weren't very mad at him. Looking back, it's hard not to see the differences in the treatment of a Black woman entertainer and a white male entertainer by the public and media, and honestly, in my opinion, it's sad. Nowadays, a nipple and sexually suggestive performances aren't really that controversial because women like Janet Jackson took the fall for it. Lil Nas X can perform songs like Montero live because Janet Jackson spearheaded the conversation. Over a decade prior, she was ostracized rather forcefully. And because of social changes like the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter, people are just now starting to look back and realize that how we treat female entertainers is deeply rooted in misogyny and racism. Janet Jackson unfortunately stayed a pioneer, alone in figuring out how to move forward, without anyone to lean on. The good thing is, though, we can learn from it. Janet Jackson's life, career, and legacy stretches beyond even the few examples I've used in this video. She's created an undeniable string of music videos whose impact still live on today. Dancing pop star? Janet. Artistic control? Janet. Reinvention? Janet. Everything we love about pop stars today can be traced back to Janet Jackson. And it's not to take anything away from what artists have done or are doing today, whether that's K-pop acts like BTS or BoA, the latter of whom was expected to follow in Janet's footsteps at one point, or Nicki Minaj, Missy Elliott, Brandy, Lady Gaga, Jennifer Lopez, Christina Aguilera, or Beyonce. They've all pushed the envelope or done what they've done because Janet laid out the roadmap that might make their passions and beliefs a reality, even in the face of deep adversity. Even her time equivalent stars can thank Janet for the road that she helped pave, just as much, if not more so, as they did. Her choreography and skill level brought in a generation of viewers to MTV so that it could become what it became. Her fashion set the trend that would eventually come back around years later. Her vocals and music would create the bridge between R&B and pop in a severely segregated world that many acts today still follow. And even though Janet had to fall in front of a world that said they loved her, it demonstrated some of the dangers that lie within the music industry and how easily it can all slip away, leaving an entire future of people neglecting to properly credit you in the way that you deserve. Janet Jackson demonstrated nearly every facet needed to be a beloved pop star. The highs and lows it can provide, and the thrill of a legacy worth remembering for a lifetime if you dare to be bold and speak your mind. She's not only the pop star blueprint, she's the pencil that drew it.